I still remember that day like it was burned into my skin, the day my in-laws tried to crush me in front of a room full of strangers, and the way one whisper flipped the whole night on its head. I wasn't born into chandeliers and private jets. I grew up in a cramped apartment above a corner store in Jersey City. My mom, Denise Carter, worked nights cleaning office buildings and spent her weekends selling baked goods at church just so I could take art classes. She'd come home smelling like bleach and coffee and still ask me about my dreams. People called us the invisible ones, but she taught me to stand tall anyway. Fast forward to the charity gala that changed my life. I was there to volunteer, setting up an art booth for the children's hospital where I teach. That's where I met Nathan Cole, the billionaire CEO heir, who on paper had it all. He came up to my booth in a tux that looked hand-stitched by angels, but he was nervous, fumbling with his champagne glass like a kid. We started talking about the paintings, then about life. And before I knew it, we were dancing barefoot on marble because my heel broke and he didn't care. He told me later he'd never seen someone smile at him without calculating what they could get in return. We fell hard and fast, sneaking coffee dates in Brooklyn, sending each other handwritten letters, building a world where no one cared about bank accounts or bloodlines. But his mother, Vivian Cole, cared. She'd spent 30 years curating the perfect image for her son. I was the wrong girl with the wrong background. She called me for lunch at the plaza, the kind of lunch where every question was a test. "Do you even know which fork to use, dear?" she purred. I smiled and answered, "The one that feels right in my hand." Her eyes went flat. She said marrying Nathan meant understanding complex family obligations. I said love isn't an obligation, it's a choice. I walked out shaking but proud. Months went by. Nathan proposed during a thunderstorm at his lake house. Just the two of us, his grandmother's emerald ring, his hands shaking when he slid it onto my finger. I said yes through tears and rain. The announcement hit the papers the next morning, and that's when the war began. Vivian started controlling everything: my dress fittings, the guest list, even the flowers. She overruled my choices with a smile, telling vendors I'd changed my mind. Her friends whispered about me at dinner parties, calling me a charity case. It wasn't just planning a wedding, it was surviving a siege. I could see Nathan tearing himself apart, trying to protect me without cutting off his mother. By the week of the wedding, 500 invitations had gone out. My best friend Erica pulled me aside and said, "You know they're planning something, right?" She'd overheard Helena Drake, Vivian's longtime ally, bragging about a folder of dirt on my family. I knew exactly what it was. Records of my mom's night jobs, the government assistance, maybe even some old hospital paperwork from before I was born. Things my mother had hidden to protect me. They wanted me to run during the wedding. Humiliate Nathan, proved their point. I almost did. Nathan begged me to elope. I said no. "I'm not ashamed of where I come from," I told him. "If they want a show, we'll give them one." The day arrived with sunshine that looked like a blessing and felt like a dare. The garden behind the Cole estate had been transformed into something out of a movie. White roses, a string quartet, the scent of money and old power floating in the breeze. I walked down that aisle on my mother's arm in a gown I fought for, feeling every eye like a weight, but also like fuel. Nathan's face when he saw me, that alone kept me standing. We said our vows, exchanged rings, kissed, and for one heartbeat it felt like maybe we'd beaten the system. Then came the reception. Vivian rose from the head table, microphone and hand folder under her arm, smiling like a queen about to knight someone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "before we toast this wonderful union, I'd like to share a few words." Nathan squeezed my hand. My mom stiffened. The crowd leaned in, sensing blood. Vivian started with compliments, how remarkable I was, how sacrificial my mother had been. Then her tone shifted, soft but sharp. "But honesty is the foundation of any marriage," she said, and opened the folder. Photos spilled across the table, my mom leaving cleaning shifts at 3 a.m. Forms showing food stamps, subsidized housing, things nobody in that room had ever lived through. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Vivian held up one photo of my mom at 19 outside a clinic and said, "Some sacrifices go far beyond honest work." I stood up. My knees were shaking, but my voice wasn't. "Mrs. Cole," I said, and 500 people went silent. "You're absolutely right. My mother made sacrifices you can't even imagine, and every single one of them is why I'm standing here today." I reached for my mom's hand. This woman worked 3 jobs so I could paint. She skipped meals so I could go to college. She gave up her life so I could have mine. That's not shame, that's courage. Vivian tried to cut me off. "You don't understand what you're saying." I faced the crowd. "No, you don't understand. You think breeding makes character. It doesn't. Choices do. Compassion does. My family never made anyone feel small to feel big. We never hid behind titles to excuse cruelty. We built everything with our hands and our hearts." My voice rose without me planning it, and I will never ever be ashamed of that. Nathan stood too, sliding an arm around my waist. His voice cut through the air like a blade. "That's my wife," he said. "If anyone here has a problem with that, there's the door." The crowd people who had come to watch a takedown burst into real applause. Not polite golf claps. Standing ovation. My mom was crying, but not from humiliation, pure pride. Cameras flashed, phones came out, and for the first time, Vivian looked lost. She walked toward me, pale, trembling, her perfect makeup streaking. "I don't recognize who I've become," she said into the mic. "I tried to protect my son, and instead I tried to destroy his wife. I'm sorry." The room went dead silent. Manhattan's Ice Queen apologizing. Nobody'd ever seen it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might faint. But then I looked at my mom, at Nathan, at all those strangers watching, and I realized this was my moment to choose what kind of person I wanted to be. "I forgive you," I said softly but clearly, and 500 people heard it like a benediction. Not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to anger would poison the happiness we fought so hard to build. Vivian's face crumpled. Nathan stepped forward to steady her. My mom handed her a tissue. Somewhere in the crowd, someone started clapping again, and this time it was different relief release, maybe even hope. The rest of the night felt like a movie running in slow motion. Vivian sat beside my mom, talking quietly. Nathan's father toasted us, saying we'd just taught Manhattan what love looks like under fire. Guests lined up to congratulate us, some whispering they'd never seen anything like it. But under all the glitter, I knew nothing was really finished. Forgiveness is a choice you keep making, not a magic wand. Months later, Vivian hosted our baby shower herself, calling my mom her partner in crime. People said we'd tamed the dragon. I don't know about that. All I know is that I walked into that wedding thinking I was the outsider, and walked out knowing I was the one who changed the room. Sometimes I replay that whisper in my head, the one I gave my mom right before I stood up. "We're not hiding anymore," I told her. And we didn't. Now I want to ask you if you'd been in my shoes that night, standing in your wedding dress while someone tried to humiliate your mother. Would you have forgiven them on the spot? Or would you have burned it all down? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, what you've seen in your own life about class, family, and forgiveness. Because stories like mine aren't just about weddings, they're about power, dignity, and what we choose to do when we're finally seen.